What's up, guys? I'm Matt. This is 2FMRC. Today we're coming at you with a quick little comparison between these two trucks. This is the new FMS K5 Blazer and the Traxxas TRX4 High Trail. Now, I do have a video on each one of these trucks, covering my thoughts on each truck alone, and now I wanted to compare them a little bit. I know these are not a direct comparison. This is the High Trail. It sits higher. It's a ½ inch longer than this truck. So I wasn't really going to get into the capability of these trucks, more just the value in them. So let's take a quick look at a couple things under the body here, and then I'm just going to put a bunch of running in here. I ran both of these in the creek the same day, back to back, and I'm just going to kind of talk about my feelings on each one, how things went, and what I think they need, really. So let's get to it. So looking at these two side by side, they are very similar in their layout. Battery tray in the same position, motors both forward. The servo on this one is an axle mounted servo, so it moves with the servo or with the axle. I actually really prefer that most of the time because you get rid of the panhard bar and a lot of bump steer sometimes. But scale guys usually kind of like to have the servo up on the chassis, which is where this one is. These inner fenders, they're very, very similar. Honestly, measuring them, I think you could make the Traxxas ones fit this or vice versa pretty easily because the FMS here has some extra holes in the chassis, and the Traxxas ones seem to line up with like this hole and one of these. So I think you could pretty much bolt these over. We may run into a few issues up in here where you're trying to mount it to the chassis, but if you look, pretty similar. The Traxxas is the same way. It has extra bolt holes to, I guess, fit different wheelbases and whatnot. So I think you could easily make this stuff work. One thing here, the FMS does give us, it looks like another spot for a servo for a winch up front. I don't see one on the Traxxas here. It's probably a bolt-on option that you can pick up or something maybe. I'm not sure. I haven't researched that at all. Somebody let me know. I know you guys out there know. Looks like you could actually strap a battery to this, maybe put you some Velcro through here and run a shorty pack. So you could do that, put the battery up front maybe. I don't know, is that what that's for? You guys tell me. I do like this being waterproof. So let's talk about transmitters really quick. I do prefer the FMS over the Traxxas Major. This is a really nice transmitter. Your locking and unlocking of the diffs is up here, and you've got reversing for all of the channels and a forward reverse or forward brake reverse setting, lipo NIM setting. You've got your lights here, dig, your 2-speed is on one of these. I don't even remember which one now. It's been a day since I've drove this, but really nice transmitter. The only downfall to it is it's an all-in-one receiver ESC. So if you change your ESC out, you got to ditch this right now. Hopefully FMS is going to bring us a receiver for just this soon. The Traxxas, I got to give a shout out to Cole, man. I really appreciate this. I left my transmitter at the creek apparently, and I realized it the next day, went back and it was gone, of course. I mean, somebody probably sold it for some meth around here, but the thing, I think they need to kind of update these a little bit. I'm not a huge fan, but I wanted to leave this with the Traxxas because I like to loan out trucks sometimes, and if you put everything on one transmitter, nobody can drive anything else. So I hated that I lost this, and I was upset, and I got online and looked them up, and they're expensive to buy these. So Cole, again, just thank you so much for that. It means the world that you were willing to send me this. He just reached out and said, hey, I got an extra, I'll send it to you. Like, that's insane. That's what this hobby is about, and I appreciate you guys so much. I've had so many of you guys do just unbelievably generous things for me, and it really does mean the world to me. So thank you for that, and I appreciate it. But this has your high and low here and your opening and closing diffs up here. These are just a little bit hard to work through the menu and stuff, but besides that, I mean, they work well, and I have beat the daylights out of some of these on bashers and stuff, dropped them and everything else, and they hold up pretty well. So, and it's also a separate receiver unit. So if you want to change to like a Fusion or something in the Traxxas, you can just reuse this transmitter. You don't have to change it out. So that's nice as well.
So this is not a deep dive review. It's not really a capability review. It's just a what did I think after running both of these trucks type review, okay? If that's not for you, I apologize, but that's just kind of how I wanted to go about it. I ran both of these back to back, had a great time with both trucks. I love them both. So it's not going to be a clear-cut winner between either one, but I wanted to just bring out a few things that I noticed between the two. So I'll let you guys kind of watch these run here side by side for a second. And then the next couple clips, I run each truck by themselves across the same line. And I want you to pay attention to the continuous slow crawl. The Traxxas at times, it's geared a little bit high and you're fine slow crawling, but then when you get a little resistance against it, you have to give it a little more throttle and ramp it up. So I'll let you watch it here. The FMS is smooth controlled through all of this. Now in the next clip, you'll notice the Traxxas has a little more squeal to it and a little more start-stop to the crawling. So it's not a bad slow crawl at all. It's just when you get that resistance against the truck, you kind of have to adjust the throttle. Whereas the FMS, you could pretty much get your trigger finger set at one point and just continue over things. Now, obviously, when you get into the steeper inclines and stuff, you're going to have to give it more. But if you're just crawling across the flat, creek bottom, every time you hit a rock with this, a different larger size rock with this Traxxas, you kind of have to ramp up that throttle a little bit. So it is noticeable. It's just something I noticed. It's not a killer. I still really enjoyed the truck, but it was very noticeable bouncing back and forth between the two. So you guys let me know in the comments if you like these side-by-side split screen type comparisons here. I like throwing these in because you can see both trucks running at the same time, close to the same line. Out here, it's very hard to hit the same line twice with the way the rocks move and stuff.
But the lines are close enough that you guys can kind of see these things hitting the same lines pretty close, together here, and kind of make the decision yourself which one you like or which one you think's better. I'm not really here to tell you to buy either one. I just honestly picked up this Traxxas to kind of test it out, and I was a little bit selfish. I could have bought the standard version. That would have been a better comparison to this FMS, but I thought, if I'm going to spend $600 on this Traxxas, I want something slightly different. This shares the same electronics as the standard version, so I feel like that is the main difference between these two trucks. The standard version of the Traxxas is going to be very similar to the FMS besides the electronics. And like I said, this High Trail shares those same electronics. So for me, this channel doesn't make enough for me to spend $600 just for a truck just to review it, and that's it. So I kind of wanted the High Trail. I've looked at them and wanted one for a while. So I thought if I'm going to kind of compare these two, I could at least get something a little different. And so I went with the High Trail. And, it is on the 2.2s, and it's a little different truck, but like I said, I'm mostly just trying to compare the electronics and what I feel about what we're getting at the price. And I love the body, like trim on the Traxxas. The side, the piece going down the side there is an actual molded piece, whereas on the FMS, we just got a sticker there. But then the badging on the FMS is better. It's actually like thin pieces of metal that says like Chevrolet and K5 and Cheyenne and all of that on it, versus the Ford just has stickers. So, you know, it's personal preference. Which one do you like better? I really like them both. The tinted windows on the Traxxas really bug me. Besides that, I think it looks great. So that's pretty easy fix. I'll take care of that. Here you can see, I was really surprised the FMS handled this as well as it did. You know, the Traxxas has the 2.2s, and that it's really good at this type stuff. You've got that added clearance with the larger tires and the high trail setup, but the FMS handled it really well going down and back up. And there you can see I'm pointing out the Traxxas servo stalling out. So it's not like you get a great servo with that truck either. So the servos on these, in my opinion, is kind of a wash. I have been hearing other people who were testing the FMS had issues with the servo as well. So I just feel like that's something you're going to replace really in either truck, but I got to give the nudge to Traxxas a bit because it made it through the entire day and ran fine. It's just not real strong. So down the road, you'll probably change that, but it did at least make it through a run without dying on me. And then really it just comes down to motor and ESC. And if you're one of those that's going to change that no matter what, then just pick the truck you like better, you know. Obviously, Traxxas is going to have a ton of support. Pretty much every hobby shop has their parts, so that's very nice. You know, for me, I don't have a local hobby shop, so I have to order my stuff anyways, or drive an hour and a half to go get it. And so usually I have to order things anyway. So for me, ordering parts, it's not that big of a deal. If I had a local shop, I would probably pick up whichever one they had, you know, support them and have the parts availability right there in my town, you know. As far as the driving, both of these are a very fun experience. Like I said, I don't want to make the decision for anybody, but I like to point out a few things that I noticed
While I was out driving them both, I did prefer overall the smoothness of the FMS, and you get the lights included. But I loved the waterproof electronics in the Traxxas, being able to just take it as deep as I wanted. And I absolutely love the high trail setup on the Traxxas. You just get more clearance. And I was really impressed with how stable it was for sitting a little higher. You know, I thought it would be very tipsy and need a lot of weight down low, some brass and that sort of thing. And it was a little more tipsy than the FMS, but overall, I think the clearance like really paid off. You can see in this spot here, it just made this much easier than the FMS. I had to back up and put it in high gear to get up it with the FMS, whereas the Traxxas actually just was able to clear it. So I was very impressed with both of these trucks.
But in general, when I would go back to the FMS after driving the Traxxas, I just felt better. I just preferred it. For one, the main difference for me is the transmitter. It's way better for the FMS. If that's something you're going to change, then it really doesn't matter. And overall, I mean, they were both really good. I had a lot of fun with both of them. And so I don't really think you're going to go wrong with them. With the Traxxas being closer to $600 and the FMS $400, that's a pretty good gap there. So you could pick up the FMS, do the wheels and tires you want, and the servo, and probably be around the same money that you're going to be spending for the Traxxas stock. But you can look at it as Traxxas is very durable. Their bashers and everything, I've had tons of their bashers, and I beat the daylights out of them, and you just really can't hardly kill them. And I suspect that their crawlers are the exact same way. I can't say that because I haven't owned this for that long, but I know a lot of people that have had them, and durability is always a pretty good thing with the Traxxas stuff. Maybe their electronics are not always the greatest. I've had a lot of their ESCs just die in bashers, but I don't know about the crawler. But overall, their durability is great, and parts availability, like I said, is really great as well. I think one of the main kickers for these trucks that you're going to have to consider is aftermarket support. The Traxxas has a ton. It's always going to have a ton of support. And FMS rarely ever gets any aftermarket support for their 10 scales. They've had some really good looking 10 scales, but I don't think they've had any of them that were actually as good all around as this truck. So maybe this truck will spark some aftermarket support, but it may not, so that's a gamble. Just know if you do pick this truck up, brass parts and links and all of that stuff, it may never come. I don't know. As far as aftermarket, now you can get the stock replacement parts pretty easily through FMS or fairrc or somebody like that. But if aftermarket support is, a big thing for you, and it should be a lot of the time, then the Traxxas is definitely the way to go. So you guys let me know what you think about these two. I was going to do like some turning tests and stuff, but they are two different wheelbases, different tires. There's just a lot of different variables there. I do feel like the FMS has a little bit tighter turning radius when you just turn the wheels than the Traxxas, but I didn't notice that the Traxxas was like terrible or anything either. So I didn't get to that. And honestly, with both of these being a slightly different wheelbase and different size tires and stuff, like a turning test is really not going to show anything. The good thing is they both have locking and unlocking diffs, so you can open up the diffs and get a little tighter turning radius. And then the FMS does have dig. So, both of these trucks are really good. I like them both. They're both a great way to just get something and go out to the creek and have fun. I ran both of these trucks by myself out at the creek, and I got to say, it's probably the most fun I've had crawling in a while. I've kind of gotten a little bored with like the super capable stuff, and we've kind of hit all the lines at different places around us like over and over, and it's like, oh cool, I can go do this again, but taking these out and just running the creek and just kind of relaxing and enjoying the water flowing and just chilling and just having fun, like it was a great day out. And you'll see on this climb right here, they both actually got up this. The FMS was a little more planted just because it sits a little lower and everything, and it handled it a little bit better. It kind of cleared the way for the Traxxas. You'll see in a minute, it just like rips a dead limb out of the way, but still pretty impressive that it didn't break anything. So I think both of these are really good trucks, great places to start. And I don't think you'll be upset with either one of these. I have seen that the FMS is a little harder to like go changing electronics in. If you wanted to go with like a Fusion or something like that, I've heard people say that the lighting system doesn't work well with any other transmitters for some reason. I don't know. I haven't looked into that. So that could be an issue, if you decide to swap things out. This does come with a very nice transmitter, but it is an all-in-one ESC receiver combo. So if you change your ESC to go with like a Fusion or a brushless setup, then you're going to take that receiver out as well.
Ooh, that didn't sound good.
Because it's built in with ESC, and then you're just kind of stuck not having your lights working properly. So FMS is supposed to be releasing a separate receiver for this transmitter that will be golden. I hope they do, because honestly, once they do that, even though this crawls very well, I probably will throw a Fusion in it, just because I put that in everything. It makes everything better, and it's just a little better overall. So hopefully that will be coming soon.
Tell me that ain't tough.
The Traxxas, it's great that it's waterproof and everything straight out of the box. And, if you want to change it, it's very easy. Just throw a Fusion in there. You can still use the receiver that comes with it and everything. So that's nice. Both of these have their pros and their cons. I'm not really here to tell you to buy either one. It really doesn't matter to me. I think you'll enjoy both. The thing about it is, really the main difference between these two, in my opinion, is, you have a few different body options with the Traxxas. So pick what you like if you're going to go that way. And do you want it to be waterproof or not straight away? The Traxxas, you can take it out of the box and go submerge it like I do here a little later. the FMS, I would be a little more cautious with it. Maybe you need to do a little waterproofing or something like that. So that's the biggest difference. And then the electronics, in my opinion, the FMS is smoother and just better, geared a little better in low. But you can have fun with either one, and that's the good thing, you know, with companies offering more and more stuff. We've got more choices. You know, a lot of people don't like the look of the FMS body. It doesn't bother me. I think it looks pretty dang good. But I'm also not one of those that's like, oh, that's 3 inches from being real life 1-to-1 scale. Like, I don't care, dude. It's a friggin' toy truck when you get down to it. And yeah, I'll call it a toy, even though this is my hobby and I love it. At the end of the day, these are toys, and we're grown men out here playing with toys. So, like, whining and complaining about a little bit of a proportion, it's just not my thing. So, for me, I like the body on the FMS, and so it doesn't really bother me. But if it does, you got other options, you know, go a different way. That's really one of the best things about 10 scale, because you have lots of options, you know. So just pick which one works for you. Consider your budget, because the FMS is $399. The Traxxas comes in at $550. So that's a big difference. That's a lot of upgrades you can put in the FMS. You can change that servo, because you're going to have to. Pretty much mine died before the first run. So I would just buy a servo with it. And then you can go with a Fusion or anything you want to do and still come in well underneath the Traxxas at stock price. But I did highly prefer the clipless body system that the Traxxas has, as far as getting the body off and on.
One way to clean it off.
After getting the FMS dirty, it was even harder when you get a little bit of dirt and mud caked up in there. It was a real pain to get that body off, and the Traxxas is still very simple. Either way you want to go, you know, like, that's the cool thing, is we have options. And so you guys let me know what you think. Which one do you have? Which one are you wanting? I don't know. Maybe you don't like either one of them. Let me know. I appreciate you guys sticking around.
Servo
Peace.
to the front diff any favors. You can see it. Whoa, she's gonna go out. So overall, I went pretty deep in the water with this. You can see I didn't really get to the electronics too much. Probably did get up to these servos, I'm guessing, and everything was fine. The battery, I don't think it's really wet at all. So I didn't get too deep, like I said, because this is technically not waterproof. I mean, it doesn't say waterproof anywhere on it, so I'm assuming no. So I wasn't just going to go asking for problems, because this thing is so good the way it sits. Obviously, this thing was fully submerged and handled it just fine. I do love that about it.